Hi everyone! This video is about making the first speaker box. What I will be used as a core material to make the box. It is the water-resistant plywood. It's not yet the marine grade plywood because it's just the pieces of the plywood glued with water-resistant glue, but each layer is not treated with a chemical which prevents from soaking water inside the plywood, inside the wood. Thus, it needs to be protected. And I will protect it using epoxy resin. To protect it from the heat and add some, this is actually 15 mils plywood. It's the minimum thickness which is suggested to use for a speaker box. But I will add additional strength and heat protection with some already made sheets of fiberglass. It's 2 mil fiberglass, which will be sandwiched with the plywood. I will put some resin on both sides of the plywood, and the plywood will soak in as much resin as it can. That is exactly what I need, because on the next step I will glue the fiberglass panel to the plywood. So the box will be very light, as light as possible. I cannot make it very light because it needs to be strong. It will be cheap and it will be heat and oil resistant. Speaking of where the box will be, it is the upper part of the engine compartment where some heat might happen, especially in the traffic jam, which we have a lot these days. So this video is technology for making a special box for a special speaker for a special car. Let's move on with it. sorry, for some reason it wasn't recorded how I putting the internal layers of fiberglass and resin. Next box I will be making, I'll be sure that I will film this part, but it is just two layers just to have some kind of a way for epoxy to get out from within the sandwich. So what I did, I put just two dry layers of fiberglass, and then I applied epoxy, working over it with a brush. And the most of my epoxy which I applied in the center. I don't really care much in case of doing vacuum for bubbles, for air bubbles, because everything should be kind of pulled out with the vacuum pump. I just need to make sure that I have enough resin and it's kind of penetrated the fiberglass. Let me explain a bit what was going on during this part of making this panel. Normally, when you apply epoxy with a fiberglass to a certain surface, you put a peel ply on top of it and then another layer to consume the excess of the resin. In my case, this is completely sealed, and there are only sides of the panel which are able to drain the excess of epoxy to the outside. And I was a bit concerned whether I will have enough vacuum to pull out the excess. And it turned out great. I tested, I measured, I checked the curve, whether it's kind of in the middle, kind of thicker than at the sides, but it's not. It's kind of curved a little bit, but I mean, maybe it's just due to the plywood itself from the beginning. But I don't care much about that, because when I will assemble the box, it will be curved back. You need to have a very good vacuum pump, and don't turn it off while you're pumping out the vacuum. The pump should be working until the epoxy is cured. There are always leaks, and those leaks can destroy what you're doing. So let the pump running until it is done with the curing process. The thickness is 15 plus 2 plus 0.6 mil, so it's kind of 17.6.65 millimeters thickness of this panel which I got, which is really good. And now I'll cut it into pieces, and we'll see at some point we will see how it turns out in the middle of this panel. But from my measurements, I can say already that the result is good. I have kind of even thickness throughout the panel, and let's move on with that. Concerning the amount of work was done, I think I can end this video here. If you like this video, just press the thumbs up. I don't have a schedule for releasing my videos because it actually depends on how often I can come here to my workshop and do things. If you want to know as soon as I will create the new one, just press the bell button and subscribe if you want to follow what I'm doing here. I will glue this all together using thickened epoxy and some fiberglass, and but that is something I will show in the next video. Have a great time and see you next time. Cheers, bye bye.